and probably hot. I probably should put it in a whole other room, but
All right. Good afternoon and
good
welcome
afternoon.
to Free Black Women's Library Artist Chat. Thank you to anyone who's tuning in right now to this conversation that I'm about to have with one of my favorite artists and people, Brooklynites, Aisha Bell. Thank you so much for being here, Aisha.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm excited.
You.
So I'm going to read your bio and then we'll talk a bit about your work and your show that's up right now in Brooklyn. It says Jamaican and ninth generation traceable Black American. Her parents met at City College. Conceived in Tanzania and born in Manhattan, she was raised Bobo Shanti Rasta, spending her early childhood on Bobo Hill in Bull Bay, Jamaica. Inspired by the fragmentation of our multiple identities, Bell's practice is committed to creating myth and ritual through sculpture, performance, video, sound, drawing, and installation. Bell holds a BFA and an MS from Pratt and an MFA from Hunter College. Woo-hoo. Bell received a NIFA in performance art, multidisciplinary work, the NIFA grant.
The knife again.
Awesome. And has had artist residencies and fellowships at Skowhegan, Rush Corridor Gallery, Abrams Art Center, Swing Space, through the Laundromat Project, Brick, and more. She has been a fellow with DVCAI on international culture exchanges, Jamaica, Suriname, Antigua, Guadeloupe, Belize, amazing. The Museo de Arts Modernos Triennial 2014, the Jamaican Biennial 2014 and 17, the Brick Biennial 2016, the Venice Biennial 2017. You've been all over the world. Mokada, the Rosa Parks Museum, CCADI, Columbia College, Space 111, and the Welancora Gallery, which is where
This
you're
is my
living
second show
now.
at Welancora.
And she lives in Brooklyn with her husband and two children. Amazing. I'm just gonna pull out my fake fan because it's like abnormally hot in Brooklyn right now.
75 degrees.
Whew. It's November 9th and it feels like it's summertime.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thank you for being here. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I got a full night's sleep for the first time in probably months. So I'm good. I'm happy to be
Amazing.
here.
Sleep is so important. I'm glad you got that sleep. So how long have you been making art?
So I designed my signature, my artist signature at age 10. But I was a kid. I was making art. That was my thing young because that's how I communicated. That's what I did with my time because I wasn't social and all those things. But I would say as a immigrant American child of color, I was supposed to go to school for something practical. And so I studied industrial design first. I did fashion, and then I was like, I'm gonna have to do art. And so I would say I made a decision at 21. Really, I went back, changed my major to fine arts,
Mm.
but I did back it up with the safety of an education degree, so art education. So yeah, so I would say officially, my first my I would say my show in 1998 in college was the deciding factor. I did a thesis show of just my paintings at the time.
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely relate to that daughter of immigrant thing
Mm.
because I'm sure I didn't even fathom, but I'm sure if I had even mentioned anything about being an artist to my parents as a young child, they would have laughed in my face. Like, no, you will be a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, a teacher, something practical.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents weren't as strict about it. They have a little, but I was aware that it was practical. It was understood, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So, do you feel like there are any certain aspects of your culture or your belief system that kind of guide your art practice or influence the type of work you make?
I mean, definitely, but it's not, I feel like my work is not as directly, I mean, it's definitely influenced because I don't think you can be an artist and make work that's not about yourself.
Mm,
Even in the aggressive attempt to make as minimalist, abstract work, there is some, it comes out of your fingers and your mind and your heart and your soul. So it's about yourself. I definitely think um, my work is definitely about me in that, and all the little I think of all of the hyphenated existences I have. You
mm,
know, I'm African American, I'm Jamaican, um, I was, you know, raised here, but I had to lose an accent when I was young, but I was born here, but we went back when I was a baby. Like, the religious component, my grandfather was a minister, but my mom was Rastafarian, which is not okay combination. So
okay.
there's all of these hyphenations, and really the key was like just being aware of, you know, in the process of losing an accent, right? Um, it might be more present when you speak to your family than when you are in school, because yeah, I know we can never fathom a time when being Jamaican was not cool, but in the early 80s, it was not really, it wasn't cool in 80,
Really?
81. When I came up from Jamaica, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
what I'm saying.
so that process of losing your accent was something you did on purpose, like you
I
worked on
don't
it, or it
I
just
don't know if I was, because I mean, you're like 7, right? And the goal is not to maintain your accent in a, now I'll say differently, if I didn't grow up in a Caribbean community,
got you?
right? So I didn't grow up, like I didn't grow up in Flatbush. Like going to Brooklyn was like, woo! We go visit the Brooklyn cousins. You
Yeah.
know, that's different. So it wasn't like, I feel like when Heavy D like announces Jamaicanness,
Yes, I remember.
like, wait, you know,
Yeah.
but it took some time. It wasn't like, yeah, no, you know, it was still like a little bit of like a banana boat and I
Oh,
forget
wow.
all the other Jamaican booty scratchers. You know,
Wow.
there's a few,
Okay.
there's a few, but you have to, because every generation, every few years, there was a new one for new people coming up at a different time.
Right.
So, and so
Right.
maybe Jamaicans was really early, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. I wonder if that's still going on with young people now. I don't know, because I feel like what with social media, it kind of causes this connect between
Yeah.
all the different cultures that maybe we didn't have growing up. So we didn't get to
Yeah.
see like dope, twerking, reggae, Caribbean life, or
I'm
so
not in the classroom anymore, right?
yeah,
And I haven't been in a classroom since 2004, like in a regular classroom with kids who say mean, crazy things to each other.
yeah,
So, and so it's been a while, but I know that, you know, as different musics became popular, like, because the last one I can really grasp is like Wyclef Jean.
mm,
You know, when he was like, they were like, hey, shit, you know, like, but before
yes,
that really happened,
that's true. That's true. There was the
it
whole
really,
like anti-Haitian phase. There's the whole
mhm.
anti-African, like West
Yep.
African or anti-Caribbean. There were these moments. I
Yeah,
hope
definitely.
that shit is done.
Me too, because it's awful.
It is. It is. I remember being bullied, but it's because I was kind of like quiet and corny. I don't think people knew where my parents came from,
Okay.
but I think it's like I was kind of square as far as like style of dress.
I think the kids just bully people
So I
for,
got teased, but it wasn't relentless because
right.
it was one of those things where people, you know, somebody would try to bully me and somebody else would step in like, leave her alone. She's not bothering you. So I
Nice.
kind of just like there. So now that you're a mom, do you feel like has your work changed in any way from that? Or do you feel like you have your artist self and your mom self, like, and they're just not really interact?
Um,
Like, do you feel
I
like being a mom has an effect on your work in any way?
that's a tough question for me because the biggest effect is the time I can spend on the work. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
but I feel like so I know there are adaptations and shifts that I've had to make with motherhood, right? But I definitely am a like tie your child on and keep working parent, right? And I feel like the core concepts of my work have not really shifted in terms of um, content, like because they were always concerned with like how we try to get ahead, how we shift to make other people comfortable, how that causes kind of like a fragmentation in our identification of ourselves. And I think all those things are very important things to talk to about with your children.
yeah,
I do think it became more prominent. So when my daughter was born in 2007, I shifted my thesis show because I was thinking about like one, my husband is completely African American. So I felt like, the Jamaican component of my identity for my kids would be like this thing where my grandmother's Jamaican, which growing up, you'd be like, oh, my grandmother's Jamaican. You'd be like, that's great. I know. And I know for myself, like people who are who have an accent, who are Jamaican, they're like, yeah, you're not Jamaican, whatever. So I know, so it was felt like another component of distance from the original source,
mm,
right? And I started to, that's what I made. I made a piece where I'm wearing a train and it's made up of smaller child-sized heads that also look like shells. So it's kind of talking about several things.
I
The
remember.
Mayafa, but also like the marriage of two cultures for me, and the idea that, you know, it feels like a huge shift, like coming together to make this new person who is this new combination of identities, but
Yeah,
also like this look at how ultimately we all came from the same place, you know, and we've lost our ancestors in these waters. So like that kind of dual narrative, the bigger and the small, personal and the larger narratives came together, and that was definitely inspired by like that's the birth of my daughter, and
wow,
thinking about what that becomes.
yeah, yeah. I remember seeing pictures of that piece. It was so like beautiful and provocative. I loved it. I loved
Thank
what do your children think about your work? Do they ever comment on it?
you. So I have a 10-year-old. I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. So they'll
Wow.
come to my show, they'll be like, that's nice. Oh, I like the way that one looks. I like the colors in that one. Um, but I think they like the work, but they haven't given me any critical, pulling critical feedback from them is like pulling teeth.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So I haven't, yeah, but I got more feedback on my outfit for the opening than I got, which they did not like. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna trust your fashion sense. I'm gonna trust mine.
But they're shady and they stay shady for a long time. So
Yes.
just
Uh,
get used to it because
when they were little,
yeah,
oh my, yes, they were cheering squad, but now.
yeah, yeah. Mine is 19 and then I still get shade thrown at me. It's getting less and less as time goes on. Like I'm noticing a new shift is taking place
Good.
where there's like a sense of a different type of respect there. But she still throws shade every once in a while. But those teenage years, like 15, 16, 17? Ooh, child.
Oh,
Ah,
I don't think I'm ready for that. Yeah.
Lord have
And
mercy.
they made me turn into a person that I've only been in dangerous situations. like, like sometimes, like just my whole everything. I'm okay. So
I love it. So let's think about the ideal situation, right? Because I feel like artists are good at daydreaming and like imagining. And let's think about what what would you need to have in place to really thrive in your art practice and do the things that you want to do and make the things you want to make? Like what things would you need to have in place?
wait, what things would I need to have in place to thrive?
In place, yeah, to thrive as in your practice.
I feel like there's a lot of things.
Any, but let's name them. Put them out
Okay,
in the
so
universe.
uh, the first thing I can think of right now is a housekeeper.
Okay.
I need somebody to help me clean my house. I
Yeah,
need tutors for both my kids
gotcha.
to work individually. So, because one of the frustrating parts of my day is trying to help them with homework or even just make sure the work is done.
Yeah.
Like they,
And it's
especially right
because
now with,
is that because of COVID? Like because of Corona?
I feel like COVID ramps it up to the whole next level. Like, because my son was just checking done. And I was just going in and preparing for 2 shows going in. And okay, he said it's done. It's done. All right, that's done too. Oh, good job. Nothing was in there.
Love it. I love that.
So yeah, so two tutors, a housekeeper,
Gotcha.
an occasional cook. Look, everything is about services, domestic work, right? Because that takes so much time,
Yeah,
right?
it really does. It really does.
And so I just put in a kiln I've been saving for years in
Oh,
my home. So I'm very happy. And that this body of the work is the first body of work that was fired, like totally fired at home. I
mhm.
fired one piece at the residency. Let me see, what else would if I could, I would love a bigger, but I have a space. So that's a blessing. So it's hard for me to say I would want a bigger space.
Yeah,
But I'd want to do more work in the space that I have to make it bigger and
gotcha.
clear it out. But technically, half of that space is my husband's. So I can't do that. But I would love a bigger space to work. And a studio assistant. Like I'm being very practical. Like I should be like, I want a boat.
I love that you're being practical because all the things you're naming are things that are accessible for you. So
Yeah. So yeah, things that
yeah,
yeah. I need a mansion. I need a 30 acres of land, like what, all that would be great. But like practically, yeah, these are
yeah,
things that would help me make
yeah,
my work. Like someone to pick the kids up from school. My husband picks them up when he's not working,
yeah.
but negotiating
So
the
it's
two
just a sense of time, having time to make
time to
things.
make the work. I mean, really, that's all I want in time. Maybe someone to go and update my website and see what applications I need to do, and
Yeah,
like a studio assistant.
yeah, yeah.
Those those kind of things. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if it's, but I feel like I'm okay. I make it work.
Yeah, you
I
do. You
the
do.
gum is working to glue my stuff together right now.
You do. I mean, I've known you for a while and I feel like you've been making work consistently since I've met you, when you were single, when you were dating, when you were newlywed, when you had your first child, when you had your second child, constantly. So I love and appreciate and respect that you find the time because you're just like you have that passion for the work. So I think that's amazing.
Well, I mean, it sounds amazing, but really, it's like the work is like it's not the work is not the work. It's like there was a year when I first started teaching way back in 1998. I started my first year of teaching public school, and I didn't make any work. and I was sick all the time and depressed.
Oh,
And so my New Year's resolution from 98 to 99 was you have to make a piece of work. You have to finish a piece of work every 2 months. Because I work in clay, it takes a long time. So I was like, every day, every month, every week, you have an hour or 2 hours to make work.
yeah.
And so that's how, so I'm always like, because work is like, it's like yoga, right? Like if you're into yoga, you need to get up and do a couple sun salutations so
Mhm.
your day will be right no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's like that with the art. It's like I need to make something. I need to touch the material. I need to, even if I'm drawing, even if I'm drawing, I say I love drawing too. I need to draw something. I got to make something that gets something out of me.
Mhm.
So it's not a matter of working,
Yeah.
like it's a matter of therapy. So a matter of peace. It
Yes.
helps me keep all the craziness kind of at bay or compartmentalized or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. So you feel like it kind of like centers you,
Definitely.
create.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that I'll be doing. You're working and
Yeah.
then suddenly you're dancing because you've been working for 8 hours, or you've been working and now it's time to get the kids to school because you haven't gone to sleep, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, and that's the only thing that does that for me. That and like back in the days clubbing.
Mm.
I
Sense
can't.
of like passion and excitement, because like when you're in the midst of creating, let me not say working, because working kind of adds a sense of like labor to it
Mhm.
and fatigue. So let me say creating. When
Creating.
you're creating, right? You feel like, do you kind of feel in your mind what's happening, or do you just let these organic things go on with your fingers? Like how do the things come out of you when you're making?
Okay, so it's a combination. I'm gonna say, especially in the clay, I definitely have my, I guess, roots rock reggae approach.
Hold on, we just had a huge truck go by.
Oh, I can't hear it.
Okay, go ahead. I'm not sure
Okay,
if this is recording just the Zoom or if it's recording outside sounds. You don't hear the outside sounds?
I don't hear. No, I hear you and my loud computer
Okay, perfect.
struggling.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, um, could you ask me the question again, though?
So we're talking about creating, right? And you were saying that in your studio, sometimes you just start moving, you're feeling it. Do you have a sense of what's happening in that time? Like, do you feel like you're fully in your body? Do you feel like you're connecting? Because I know some artists say that they feel like they're receiving these messages and they're just kind of coming out of their body. Like, does that sound familiar for you?
Well, I mean, it does in one sense. I don't feel like I'm receiving energies like that. I believe that um you see the presence of God through the work that you make, right? Like I feel like creativity in and of itself, whether it's writing a poem or making music or a song, is like the voice of something bigger than you are, and
Mm,
you become the vessel through which it travels, right? I can't say that I feel like a vibration or anything. I'm just working, right? So as I'm working, I very rarely make sketches, and the most planning I'll have when it comes to the clay. Painting is different. When it comes to the clay, and drawing is different. When it comes to the clay, is I know if I want it to be small, medium, or large, or
got
really large. That's it. Like, and those are the four sizes I've been working in: small, medium, large, or really large, basically. And medium is life size, right? So so that's the that is determined by how much clay I take out of the bag and knead and start working with. Um, but whether it's going to be male or female, what it's going to look like, who's going to be, is it going to have, like in this show coming up, I have a piece with a hat on. I'd never made a piece with a hat on before, but it just decided that it needed to be have on a wool hat, you know, like, so, so yeah, so I don't know. And sometimes when I'm making, if it looks too much like another one, then I might shift it a little bit. That's the most. And that shifted means, oh, I'm gonna make this chin smaller, or I'm gonna make this nose broader, or I'm gonna open the mouth. You know, I haven't opened mouths in a while. Teeth scare me. I've done them though, but not in a minute.
Okay.
So yeah, and then sometimes I'm like, and the clay is the part where I have the least control, I say, in the making, where I implement anything. It's once they are fired, once I have to take them out, how am I going to treat the surface? Like, how am I going to paint them? What kind of glaze I'm going to use? And then once that's done, then to put it onto the surface and figure out what they're doing. Are they standing? Are they moving? Are they in full figure, small, you know, like, then I build it from there and I ask myself questions constantly as I go along. But, you know, yeah, I can't say there's much of a plan. Like, I didn't go into the show going, this is what I'm gonna make. I have pieces that aren't in the show because I've been making obsessively, that got, you know, edited. And so I just make, you know, that's it. And then I figure out what I was trying to say after I make it.
Awesome. Well, now I would like to make you a host on this Zoom so you can share some of your work, because all this talk about it is like getting me excited. Okay. I just made you a host.
Okay, so now I can share my screen.
Yep.
Let me just look at what is on my sheets. Okay, I'll share it. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
My computer's decided to make this so I can't. I'm trying to, oh, here we go, share. All right.
Yes.
So these are the first pieces that, and let me see if I can make this bigger.
Yeah. I think if you go to view, maybe.
Yes, view. You're right.
Full screen. Full screen. Full screen.
So
So
what happened with this? So these are the smaller pieces, the first few, and from there, all the other works.
Can you give us like dimensions when you say small? What's the inch around?
9 by 12, so a little bigger than a sheet of paper, right? So there's they're on wood panels, and then which was like the best thing I've ever discovered, because I can drill into them. I put hardware in there, and then I can hang the ceramic heads on top. Before, a lot of my work was on walls, and then I was using on canvas. So I would paint them on canvas, paint the canvas like the walls, and they were huge, right? And what these or I did individual heads like in flags or in formations. But what this has allowed me to do is kind of combine several ideas. I think one of my hardest things has been that I work in several bodies of work. So I have my traps, I have my mask, I have my drawings, I have my paintings, I have my performance. It just goes on. It's like a lot. And so
you are multidisciplinary embodied.
yes. Yes.
All the things.
All things. And I think if people look at them quickly, they don't get the connections, because the concepts all are around the idea of trap, right? And negotiating traps, you know, and then from there, everything is a tool for negotiating trap, the multiple consciousness, the shape shifting, the decorating and beautifying our traps, you know, so all of those, everything is related. So with the wood, this body of work has allowed me to do is to start to really think about how to encompass that.
Mm.
These pieces with the stripes here come out of a body of work called stripes, scars, bars, and something else I forgot just now. And they were wall pieces. And the first series I did, and not all of them will look like this, some of them were broken and glazed back together in the kiln and fragmented. So it's like a fragmented series, but this comes out of that. And I was looking at both the stripes that you think of in terms of prison industrial systems, but also the stripes of scarification, the bullseyes, the targets on people's backs. And then I was thinking about the idea of radiating, coming out of something, you know, sound, music, sound waves, vibrations, which sounds really hippie, but it's exactly what I was thinking about. So, and so I started to put in the last show I had at Welancora in 2017, I had started expanding the stripes that were on the faces onto canvas, small canvas backgrounds. And then this comes from that, like these wooden pieces and painting on them and playing with the light coming out. So these, like, this is the first one, this is probably the second one, third one, like in that order. This is the fifth one, and this is the last one. And so there's more Black pieces in the show. So I'm very excited about the Black on the Black on the Black on the Black.
I love Black on Black on Black. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite things to see in art. I don't know, it just makes my eyes really happy.
So yeah, so there's a couple.
Love number 5 too. Do they have names?
They do. I don't have their names are longer than they should be.
Okay.
I don't have them memorized. But all the pieces do have names. If I memorize one of the ones I show you, I'll say the names. I think I've posted some on Instagram with names. None of these. So if you haven't been to the show and seen this in person, then you're seeing it here. Yeah. And they're installed like this.
And the show is up until when? What are the dates?
The show is up until December 10th, December 11th.
11th.
And you can just go to Welancora's website, and it says in the menu, because I know a lot of us are on our phones, you have to go to the menu, and on the bottom it says make an appointment. You click on make an appointment, and then you can make an appointment. She's open, I think it's Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5. So you can go during those times. Yeah. So each one is a different piece. This was fun to work on, and this is where the work started. Late 2000, like Christmas 2019, I did a residency, and I started working on these up there, and then I've been working on them since. Let me see if I can get another one. I'm gonna make the page smaller. And so this is, hold on, let me make this bigger.
So pretty.
Thank you. It's a side view of the one that's used on the invite.
Yeah.
And I started to really, this is when I started to play in the Black. The clay is treated with ink instead of glaze. I'm very excited about what ink does on clay right now. So, and then I've used a combination of different Blacks to paint the background of this one piece right here. And that's just a side view. And I wish I could be more technically, I should be at this point teaching online. Oh, the other one was in here. Okay, and then this is the one, this was the last one that I made for this period in the show. And I like her. So, and this head was the last head that was fired. So it was made separately. And I started, a lot of times I do eyes closed, but this show I did a lot more like peaceful thinking, retrospective eyes. And this show I did a lot more open eyes. And more 3/4 views and dealing with, I hate making ears. They're a whole sculpture unto themselves. Like just by themselves. You could just do ears. So sorry, that's just a side note. But three.
Because of all the, is it because of all the
It's
pearls?
got details that don't necessarily make sense, but it's layered, right? So and like I have a whole body of work in storage that I probably won't show because the ears are so bad. Because they look like E's. You know, now in hindsight, I would be like, what was I doing with those ears? So I do focus on them, but I definitely generally don't do more than the 3/4 view. Like I don't, they haven't come all the way out, so you get both ears because they're a lot. So I do 3/4 views, but yeah, I liked her. And I just felt like this is gold leaf in between the lines. It's a little shout out to my Rasta roots, but also the red, black, and green. But I shifted the tints, the colors, the tones of them just a little bit, you know. And this is so, and I haven't been painting clothes on my characters, so I kind of started playing with that here, in this one. So yeah, I think I only put up 3 images. Hold on, let me look.
These are so good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So yeah, I can stop sharing now.
So let's talk about the show just for a few more minutes for those folks who are in Brooklyn that want to check it out. It's called AKIN.
AKIN, yeah.
AKIN.
Like AKIN.
And it's at Welancora Gallery.
Yes.
And it's up until December 11th.
Yes.
And you can make an appointment to see the work.
At WelancoraGallery.com.
Okay. .com. And I think that's all the important information about the show, right?
I think so. Gallery's open Tuesday through Saturday.
Does the name mean anything?
AKIN? Oh, family, like, similar. You know,
that's
AKIN.
That's what I thought. Awesome. Awesome. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to go and check it out in person. The pieces look really, really good. And, you know, I just want to salute you for being an amazing artist.
Thank you.
And, you know, creating, working, being an awesome mom, awesome friend, awesome person, from top to bottom. And I'll close with 2 last questions. Who are some Black women artists that you are really excited about, who kind of like inspire you? They could be passed on or present day.
So of course, Wangechi Mutu, who is a friend, but whose dedication to her practice and her work ethic is amazing. So I've been a big fan of hers. I don't know, I don't know how long we've been friends, for a long time, more than 20 years. So she's a big person I look at. I love the Saars, Alison and Betye Saars. I don't know them personally, but I definitely love both of their approaches to making work. The body of work that Alison Saar did with the hair. I was just like, wow. Like, I love her sculptures. Those are amazing to me. Let me see. There's quite a few, and I'm going to Carrie Mae Weems.
Yes.
Her video, her photography, her whole self, you know, just her whole self is,
all of it.
I mean, you know, there are a whole Simone Leigh right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and she's going to represent the country in the Biennale, but I mean, I just remember her making her sculptures and her daughter being like 2 or 3, you know, seeing her work back then. And she has her dedication. Some and the work is, I mean, she's a ceramicist, excuse me. She's a ceramicist. So I was like, she's a bomb, you know,
Yes.
this is amazing. And then to watch her just is 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 fabulous. You know, I'm so proud, you know, of her. Not that I'm her auntie or anything, but just like, you go, girl.
No, I understand. I understand. I barely know her, but when I saw her get chosen for that, I was like, yes, yes.
Yes.
You know, it's just one of those things where you like to see people recognized for their talent, for their creativity, for their work. It's a
Hmm.
really good feeling to see that. Like, yes, good.
Yes. And you can see them working, like they've been working,
Yeah,
like, and the work is brilliant. So I know I can't name everybody that
yeah.
I love and has been influenced.
It's a
And I also have I just go blank too.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot. If somebody asked me that question, I would have an extremely long list. So
And I didn't write the list ahead of time. That's just off the top. But there's so many.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. It's really nice to have so many Black women artists out there from different styles of practice, sculpture, painting, performance. You know, it's nice to have that wide range.
Hmm.
I don't, maybe I wasn't aware, but it definitely didn't feel like that when I was a lot younger.
Oh, no, no, no. Well, one I think is, um, yeah, first of all, I think in general, the art world wasn't open when we were younger. Like it one, wasn't, because it's almost like public information right now.
Yeah,
And I feel like it was definitely not when we were younger, but also like the early 2000s was a wave of introducing the idea of Black people being in the arts, right? And with that introduction of Black people being in the arts, like, you know, the the Kehendes and the Wangechis and the new generation of Black artists
yeah,
suddenly appearing, that allowed space for artists who'd been making work to, like, Carrie Mae Weems,
yeah,
you know, to show up, to not show up, like to be like, oh wait, you're here and you've been here
yeah,
for a while, you
yeah.
know. And so I think, and I have to say that I am really also inspired by all these artists who've been making art, who were making art through the 70s and 80s and 90s with no recognition, you know, or very little, you know. Um, and to have like people go, oh, Barkley, you know, where'd he come from? You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so
That's
I
a
think
really
I
good
think
point. That's a really good point.
you know, I think that's I don't remember the question you asked. I don't know if I answered it.
Oh, you did. You did. You did.
Okay.
We did talk about Black women artists. So, since this is the Free Black Women's Library, you know, I have to ask you a book question.
Okay.
So, what is a book written by a Black woman that you think everyone should read?
Wild Seed by
Oh,
Octavia Butler. I'm definitely a Octavia Butler obsessed person. I've read all of them except for that one I can't find. There's that one, that early one that she doesn't like and wouldn't reprint,
oh, Survivor.
Survivor. I
Yeah,
haven't read that
I
one.
have that one. I haven't read it yet, though.
Oh, you haven't? Well, I'll come over to your house and sit in the corner and read it.
Apparently, she hated it.
She did. So all my books from her, except for the last one, are signed. So I had met her.
Oh,
Yeah, I put them away now. But I met her at Inkuru Books. You remember Inkuru Books on Fulton Street when Talib Kweli worked there? So I met her there, and I came. It was me and okay, I'm gonna just another friend who's born the same day. We share the same birthday, June 22nd, right? So we were both there, and we were like, we have the same birthday, and she was like, both of you? And I was like, can you sign my books? And she was like, oh my God, all of them? And she signed all of them.
Yes.
And I was like, yay! I was so happy. So
That's awesome.
yes.
I have one signed Parable of the Sower, but the rest are not signed. So yeah, keep those someplace safe.
They're hidden. That my kids can't read them.
Okay.
I got new copies of stuff for Tandy. My daughter's now at the age where she would read them. So you can read a new copy. So I also have a book issue. So I love Nnedi Okorafor as well. And I feel like, I don't know if I'm saying her name correctly. Do you know who I'm talking about? She wrote
Nnedi Okorafor. I don't know if I'm saying her name correctly either.
Oh, okay.
So I know of whom you speak.
Huh? Yes.
I know of whom you speak. I love her work as well.
Of course you know who I'm speaking. You are the Black Library. I don't even know.
But tell me why you want people to read Wild Seed. What made you choose that book specifically?
Well, for me, I think it's the shape-shifting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before I was even making work about how we shift ourselves in spaces, because I read that piece in high school, right? I read her work and I read that work. I was actually, there's a anthology of Black writers. They have 2 of them. I feel like it was an anthology of Black science fiction writers. Okay, it's skipping out of my head, but it's like a book. They made 2. They had to have come out like 10 to 15 years apart, right? And so I had read the first one in when I was still in high school, and I read her story, which was an excerpt of Wild Seed. And so I immediately went out to find her books. So that's like 90, 91, 92. I don't think it was 92 yet. I was still in high school. So so that story, her changing, her ability to shift, and like the idea of her living and healing and watching things happen, like her power, but also the same time her power and the word is not being able to do as much as she would like, choosing all these conflicting ideas within the main character were things that spoke to like bigger things than the main character, and it spoke to me on a personal level metaphorically, but it also spoke to like our experience as African American Black women in the world, the United States, the Caribbean, wherever you're from. I feel like there's so much shifting, that shape-shifting that we do to get along, to survive, that metaphorically the story was on freaking point. I loved when she could turn into a dolphin though. That was great.
No.
I was like, if I could turn into a dolphin, you wouldn't see me walking on 2 feet again. But
yeah.
So and how she told it. I had to read that book again. But how she talked about those experiences, I thought were super key. Yeah, so that's hands down easiest my favorite book. I don't think anything comes close. Even her own books. I love all of them. The whole Parable series is awesome. Like that was like a religion. Yeah, and they make you think about how religions started, and how and that was the book that I went and got from her in person in Cura, the second one, right? So when she spoke about the book and talked about creating a religion and creating a Jesus, so to speak, in the main character, I was like, boom, what? And then it's interesting how it shifts how you think about who gets selected to become, because I know Shango didn't think he was going to become a deity, so it's like who gets chosen, how and how that happens, so like, she's I could go through all her books and talk about what part was amazing.
Yeah, me too. She's definitely one of my favorite writers of all time, and I usually recommend her books to people all the time. And Wild Seed and the whole thing about shape shifting, that was my first time. When I read that book, that was my first time reading anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of somebody being able to change shapes. And I was just kind of like, I want to be able to do that. Like that sounds so cool. So yeah. And you're right. Metaphorically, we do that all the time. I feel like we're kind of like, we do it on purpose for our survival, for our safety. And then we also do it because it's fun and it's joyful and pleasurable. We kind of like have
Mm-hmm.
different things. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to make sure to share your Instagram and your website and all that stuff in the captions for the video so people can know how to get in touch with you because you have a newsletter you send out.
I do.
People can
Um,
subscribe to the newsletter so they can see like what's going on with your art and your work.
yes. I think because I haven't perfected the art of newslettering yet at all. But you could, if you want, just shoot me an email and I'll add you to the newsletter.
Awesome.
There's supposed to be something where you could add people in the newsletter, or I need to put it on my website. I haven't figured that out yet.
It's
That's
okay.
some things fall to the side when you're doing too many things, the parenting, mothering,
Yeah,
working, teaching, art.
I
Yeah.
understand. I
I'll
understand.
get to it.
I understand.
Yes.
The list is infinite and I just take it one at a time.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for spending this afternoon talking to me about your work.
Thank you. Your plants look gorgeous, by the way.
Very excited about them. All right, so I'm going to click record,
Okay.
not record.